Herbaceous perennials are really amazing plants to have in our growing spaces, whether they are ornamentals or they are edibles. Now these are actually my asparagus, which obviously are edibles, but they are also extremely beautiful plants in themselves as well when you let them go to fern. Now the usual time for harvesting for these, I would say, is any month without an R in it, so usually sort of May through to August. However, I let these go to fern, or just let them grow rather than harvesting them around June time, just because I couldn't keep up with the harvest. Now as perennials, they do come back each year, and obviously they do tend to die off as well. They're not evergreens, although there are some evergreen perennials out there. Now what happens when you let them go to fern like this is they are actually getting all the nutrients they need, so that come next season they should actually have some really good growth. However, they will die off, so we're probably looking around sort of January, February time, they'll start to go really brown. Now I've put these in an A-frame just because I don't want them falling over, because that could actually weaken the crowns. And come February time, I will cut these right the way back down, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is around that time we will be getting some frosts, and if we have something like asparagus beetle, by cutting them down, some of those asparagus beetle may be hiding out in the hollows of our asparagus, and it will actually kill them off. Asparagus beetle, by the very name, they love asparagus, and they're actually quite difficult to get rid of. You can companion plant, but quite often, unfortunately, it doesn't quite do its job. So I also have here something which is growing my new asparagus. Now, these plants will last around 25 years, and these ones themselves are probably about 16, 17 years old, so they still have some life in them, but I am mindful that at some point they will actually go. So I have actually grown these ones from seed, and I did this inside an unheated greenhouse, and these ferns here are actually about 2 years old. Now you can actually, after you've grown your seedlings, get them in the ground when they are about 12 weeks old, although you cannot harvest them for around 3 years if you're growing from seed. The other way of actually getting new asparagus plants in is by actually having crowns, and they look like these little claws that you actually put in, and if you are growing from asparagus crowns, you're probably looking at about 2 years. Now the asparagus that we eat are the male plants, so you may get, if you're going from seed, although I haven't got any in here, some female plants. So how can you tell? Asparagus, whether it's male or female, will actually flower. Not all of them, but they will flower. So just take a really careful close look at those flowers themselves. If they have yellow or orange stamens in the middle, they are your male flowers. If they have green, or they have the ovum underneath, then they are your female flowers. And actually those are not the plants that you want, because they're not the ones you're going to eat. Although, as I said, they are beautiful. Now, despite the fact that they are herbaceous and they are perennials and they will come back up to about 25 years, we still need to look after them. So actually getting a mulch down is a good idea, because if we get weeds in our asparagus bed coming up to the season where the spears are starting to come through, it's really easy to actually knock those spears off. So I do want to put some mulch down, but also I want to be feeding this bed as well. So I've got a bit of a dilemma. I could either have some nice compost that I put down, or I could actually put some wood chipping down. But I don't actually really want to do both. But I have come up with a really happy medium in between, and it is this, and it is the compost bark fines, and it's basically going to do a bit of both. It's going to help suppress those weeds if I put about 2 centimeters on here, but it's also going to help retain the moisture, and it's also going to mulch down, and it's going to feed my asparagus. Now this is actually quite good looking stuff. It's really dark, and I'm just quite literally going to pop it onto my beds, and what I'll do is I will just give it a little bit of a rake in after I've done 2 centimeters, and I'll make sure that I'm not actually touching the asparagus itself, and that's just purely and simply because I need those to be slightly uncovered. What I'm trying to do is protect the crowns and obviously retain the moisture, but keep those weeds at bay. So asparagus, it is absolutely beautiful, and this time of year think about how we shore up our ferns to protect them so they don't fall down and damage those crowns, but also we need to be making sure that we are feeding them, we are protecting them, and we are stopping those weeds from coming back as well.